Hello everyone, this is Raju demonstrating the cervical vertebrae, mainly the typical cervical vertebrae. We know that there are seven cervical vertebrae in number, and the third to sixth are considered as the typical cervical vertebrae, and the first, second, and seven are atypical cervical vertebrae along with their features. The typical cervical vertebrae are, or the cervical vertebrae are identified with the two main cardinal features from remaining the vertebrae. One is the cardinal feature. So in the transverse process, you can find a foramen called as foramina transversaria. Foramina transversaria. And the second cardinal feature is the spine is bifid. So with these two cardinal features, we can separate or determine the cervical vertebrae from the remaining vertebrae. So like you can separate from the thoracic lumbar vertebrae. So this is about the basic information. Next we go ahead. We study in detail. First we see the body. It has its parts: body, vertebral foramen, and the remaining part is considered as a vertebral arch. Body can be seen here. The body is smaller and broader, we can see, and the superior surface of the body, if we observe, it is beveled, beveled superior surface. That means it's elevation on the border of the body. If you observe, there is an elevation. We call it as a beveled appearance. Beveled appearance. In the same manner, we try to observe the inferior side one. So there is the inferior surface can be seen with its elevation and depression. So it is like a saddle one, not like the upper one. You can see that is a, from the side view also you can see it's a saddle one, whereas this one is beveled on the sides, the superior surface. Now we'll see the lateral borders are beveled, and they, even the inferior surface, the lateral borders also beveled. You can see the lateral borders. Then here you can see there will be synovial type of joints will be there, and there will be anterior posterior surface is even anterior this posterior surface, and this is the anterior surface of this typical cervical vertebra. And what about the vertebral foramen? We can observe it is in triangular shape. Then we move to the vertebral arch. From these pedicles we'll start. The pedicles, they are directed laterally. The small projections towards the posterior side, we call them as pedicles. So they are directed laterally. And here we can see the laminae also, which are thinner. You can observe the laminae, these two laminae, which are thinner. And here we can see the pedicles. The superior articular processes can be seen here, superior articular process, and the whole elevation is called a process in which we can locate a flatness can be seen. So this is called as facet. The superior articular facets, they are directed backwards and upwards, whereas the inferior articular facets will be there. Inferior articular facets in the same manner. So these have to be directed backwards posteriorly, and the inferior articular process and with its facet, we can observe this rounded and flattened one. This is called as a facet, which is directed anteriorly. If you keep it in anatomical position, this is what the anatomical position. You can see that the spine is directed posteriorly, body is directed anteriorly, and the inferior articular facets are directed anteriorly. Here we can see. And what about the foramina transversaria? Here we can find the foramina transversaria, and here what we have to observe is that there is an anterior root and the posterior root, anterior root and the posterior root as well. So these two are connected by a bar like structure. We call it as costotransverse bar. I repeat, the anterior root and the posterior root, in between them we can find a bar like structure. We call it as costotransverse bar. This is commonly used in the viva. Remember this one, costotransverse bar, which is representing the costal element along with its tubercles, anterior tubercle and posterior tubercle, and the anterior root and the posterior root, and this the costotransverse bar, we call it as costal element. There is importance for this anterior tubercle of sixth cervical vertebra. There is a prominent appearance will be there anterior tubercle, so that's it's called as carotid tubercle, as it is related against to the common carotid artery. We can call it as a carotid tubercle in case of sixth one. And what about the spine? Spine is clearly seen. There's a bifid spine. You cannot find in any other vertebra other than this cervical vertebrae. It's a cardinal feature. Already we had disclosed this. And what about the attachments? Now we'll move to the attachments. The attachments can be seen. The upper part and the lower parts of the body are attached with the anterior and posterior longitudinal ligaments, anterior and posterior longitudinal ligaments. And just beside on each side of the anterior longitudinal ligament, we can find the longus colli is attached on the anterior surface, longus colli muscle, and the posterior surface has few foramina. We can observe the few foramina which are meant for the basivertebral veins. Basivertebral veins, the few foramina are located. Then the upper border and the lower borders of the anterior surface of the lamina provide attachment to the ligamenta flava. Lamina are giving attachment to the ligamenta flava. And what about the foramina transverse cerium? Foramina transverse cerium is meant to, so it's not empty. So it has to pass few structures. Those structures are the artery, vein, and usually nerve. So what about this artery? Artery is a vertebral artery, and the veins are the vertebral veins, and the nerve is the branch from the inferior cervical ganglion. I repeat, the structures passing through the foramina transverse cerium. As it's a cardinal feature, we must remember the structures passing through it. It is definitely it's a part of a viva. The vertebral artery is a vertebral artery, vein is a vertebral veins. Then the nerves are the branch from the inferior cervical ganglia. The anterior tubercle gives the attachment to the muscles called as scalenus anterior, the longus capitis, and the oblique part of the longus colli. So anterior tubercle gives attachment to the, I repeat, the scalenus anterior muscle, longus capitis muscle, and the oblique part of the longus colli muscle. And what about this costotransverse bar? Costotransverse bar is meant for the anterior primary rami of the corresponding cervical nerves, spinal nerves. So I repeat, the costotransverse bar is allowing the passage of the anterior primary rami of the same corresponding cervical nerves. Then the posterior tubercle. What about the posterior tubercle? Is giving attachment to the scalenus muscles, scalenus medius and the scalenus posterior, and the levator scapulae as well, posterior muscles, the neck posterior. So as it is cervical vertebrae, they are the skeleton of this neck. So neck muscles we could recall the scalenus medius, scalenus posterior, and the levator scapulae. And you can find in the same manner. So even though it's a smaller one, which has few more attachments, the splenius cervicis, the longissimus cervicis, and the iliocostalis cervicis, which are the part of the erector spinae group of muscles. And finally, we move to the spine. The spine is giving attachment to the interspinalis muscle, above, below, the below one interspinalis muscle, between the two spines, and the semispinalis thoracis, and the semispinalis cervicis even, and the spinalis cervicis, and the multifidus. Multifidus muscle is located in the side, in this gap, in between this gap. So totally erector group of muscles, erector spinae group of muscles. So this is about the cervical vertebrae, the basic information. And I repeat once again, so we just have seen the body which is beveled on the side, and the cardinal features are the foramina transverse area and the bifid spine. Spine is having two fits in the two projections. Then the lamina is thinner, and it has the anterior root and the posterior root, and the posterior tubercle and the anterior tubercle. In between them, there is a very important to remember, the costotransverse bar, which is allowing the anterior primary rami of the corresponding cervical nerve. And the foramen, the transverse cerium is allowing the vertebral artery, vertebral veins, and the branch from the inferior cervical ganglion. So this is about the foramen transverse cerium. This is a vertebral foramen. We know the superior articular process and the facet, inferior articular process and the facet. So this is about the cervical vertebrae, typical cervical vertebrae. And finally, you remember two words. One is the foramen transverse cerium and the structures passing through it, artery, vein, and the branch from the cervical ganglion, and the costotransverse bar, which is allowing the anterior primary lamen, and the bifid spine. Thank you very much. And we'll add the ossification even. So there will be 3 primary centers and the 6 secondary centers. The primary center is there for each half of the neural arch, it's common, and for the centrum there will be one more primary center, centrum. So here the first, the neural arch, the primary centers are visible at the age of 9 to 10 weeks of the fetal life, and for the centrum 3 to 4 months of fetal life, the primary centers are visible, and these two halves will fuse with each other before or during the first year, and overall the synostosis of the neural central synapses occurs during the third year. So by third year you can see the formation and the ossification of the primary centers by third year. And the secondary centers, so 2 for the annular epiphyseal discs for the peripheral parts of the upper and lower parts surfaces of the body, and 2 for the tips of the transverse processes, and 2 for the bifid spine, and they will appear during the puberty and fuse with the rest of the body by 25 years. So by 25 years the all parts of the cervical vertebrae are fully developed and fused. Thank you very much.